I call the Youth Commission meeting to order on Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 6:03 p.m. Recording Secretary, can you please conduct a roll call?
Yes. Youth Commission Member Pham?
Here.
Youth Commission Member Paradies?
Here.
Youth
Here.
Commission Member Ramirez?
Here.
Vice Chair Benitez? Absent. And Chair Malfavon.
Here.
Records show we have 4 members present. Chair Malfavon, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If able, will you please join me in the standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have Anna Du, who is here to present from the City of Santa Ana Budget Office.
Good evening, Youth Commission Chair and Commission members. My name is Ann Doe. I am a Senior Budget Analyst with the City's Budget Office. Thank you for having us here. As part of our ongoing community engagement efforts, the Budget Office is conducting listening tours in each council ward, participating in city events, and attending various commission meetings to gather community input and feedback on the upcoming fiscal year 25-26 budget. I've prepared a brief presentation that will cover an overview of the current fiscal year's budget, the results of last year's Community Budget Priorities Survey, outline the fiscal year 25-26 budget process, an update on youth services spending, and an opportunity for feedback on your top priorities. The presentation will also include QR codes for the budget survey, along with links to city resources for youth programs and services. The city's fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. In fiscal year 24-25, the city adopted a citywide budget of $734 million. After the budget is adopted, adjustments are made throughout the fiscal year, such as when new funding sources become available for projects and programs, or when revenues fall short or exceed initial projections. In other words, the city's budget is a dynamic, evolving document. The general fund, which is considered unrestricted or discretionary funding, makes up 55% of the total citywide budget. This is the portion of the budget where City Council focuses its attention. Special revenue includes examples such as the Cannabis Public Benefit Fund, fire facilities, and opioid remediation. Grant funds include federal and state grants such as the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and State Housing Authority. Other restricted funds include gas tax. Funding is provided through a state formula and various housing authority funds. The enterprise funds are designed to be self-sustaining and include services like water, sewer, and refuse. The revenue collected from these services is intended to cover the full cost of operations. Capital funds are used to build, renovate, or maintain physical assets. Examples include projects funded by OCTA and Caltrans for street improvements, including residential and traffic system grants. Debt service is used to pay the principal and interest on long-term debt. In 2024, the city successfully paid off the debt for the jail holding facility. Slightly less than half of the city's funding sources are restricted, meaning the city can only use that money for specific services, such as affordable housing or street improvements. The remaining funds are unrestricted, allowing the city to allocate the money to any service, such as public safety, library services, and parks and recreation programs. During the annual budget process, the City Council primarily focuses on the unrestricted funds in the city's general fund. This balance is largely made possible by the Santa Ana's local sales tax. In contrast, most cities have higher percentage of unrestricted funds than unrestricted funds. The city has adopted general fund revenues of $406.5 million. The majority of the city's unrestricted revenue comes from sales and property taxes. which together account for nearly 60% of the general fund budget. The remainder of the general fund budget is derived from other taxes and fees, as shown here. In California, raising revenue is challenging because taxes must be approved by voters, and fees are restricted to covering only the city's costs of providing the service. In other words, the city cannot generate a profit from fees. Revenue is relatively flat compared to fiscal year 23-24. The city has adopted general fund expenditures of $406.8 million. The fiscal year 24-25 budget is balanced. A balanced budget means that we are spending less than what we receive for recurring programs and services. You may notice that the budgeted expenditures slightly exceed the $406.5 million in revenue. This difference is due to $11 million in one-time spending for specific projects included in the general fund. More than half of the city's budget is dedicated to public safety, which encompasses police, fire, and ambulance services. The majority of the general fund budget is allocated to direct public services, including the library, recreation, and community development programs. Some examples of community development programs supported by the general fund are youth employment programming, homeless outreach services, grant programs for artists, and economic development initiatives to attract and retain businesses. These are the top spending priorities identified by the Santa Ana community in last year's budget survey results for the current year's budget. For the past few years, the top two priorities have been investing in homelessness and crime reduction programs. These are followed by more programs and centers for youth. Tying for the fourth spot are investing in road repairs, and enter your top priorities here. Rounding out the top 5 priorities is improving city parks. Last year, for the first time, we included an open-ended response option for most of the questions, labeled Enter Your Top Priorities here. The responses cover a wide range of topics. While most of the comments we received are reflected in the other 5 priorities, here's a random sampling of some of the additional suggestions: sidewalk repairs, parking issues, more programs for senior adults, affordable housing, more housing, and improve animal control services. January 2025 marks the official start of the fiscal year 25-26 budget planning process and the beginning of the budget team's annual community engagement efforts. Our goal is always to cast as wide of a net as possible within the Santa Ana community. This year, as with every year, we aim to improve our engagement numbers, which is why we're excited to kick off our first visit in mid-January. Currently, we are almost halfway through the fiscal year 25-26 budget planning process. The city will hold internal budget meetings with departments from the end of March through early April to review budget requests and discuss staff priorities. At tomorrow's City Council meeting, the council will discuss the early direction agenda and provide direction on spending priorities for preparation of the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. In May, City Council is scheduled to review the proposed budget, followed by a public hearing in June, and the adoption of the budget at the second meeting in June. The General Fund and the Cannabis Public Benefit Fund both support various youth services and programming. The following are just a few examples and not an exhaustive list of all the youth programs and services offered by the city. Some funding sources may overlap for the same programs and services. A few examples of programs and services funded by the General Fund include the library's teen time programs at the El Salvador and Garfield Community Centers, library capital improvement projects at the main library, outdoor library at Jerome Park, and Delhi Center Library Branch, a second bookmobile and a new book collection, the POW program, zoo improvements and programs, including the Zoo Education Hub and Children's Zoo program, park improvements at Centennial and Memorial Parks, youth employment programs, youth sports programs. The Cannabis Public Benefit Fund supports programs such as library hotspots, library youth events and programs, recreation, zoo programs like Zoo and You, teen excursions, and camp operations, the SAY internship program, and park improvements at various locations such as Thornton, Madison, and Santa Anita parks. In addition, the city's restricted funds, such as capital funds and grants, support a variety of youth programs and services, including library capital improvement projects at 4 library locations, various park improvement projects throughout the city, after-school programs and sports, childcare programs, youth employment programs, youth prevention and intervention programs. Furthermore, the city partners with local nonprofits to administer programs and services to youth through the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, which supports mental health, mentoring, crime and gang prevention and intervention, health initiatives, domestic violence, case management, leadership, and learning and literacy. The Budget Office has been gathering community feedback since we launched our community engagement efforts in January. So far, the top priorities for youth include improving parks and more programs and centers for youth. The city currently has 12 park improvement projects underway, including Thornton, Centennial, Jerome, Memorial, Santiago, and El Salvador parks. Additionally, teen time programs are operating at the El Salvador and Garfield community centers, offering a wide variety of activities and services for youth. In balancing the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget, we expect this year to follow the same trend as previous years, where costs continue to rise faster than revenues. It's important to remember that the city operates under the following conditions. Public demand for services outpaces the city's legal ability to raise revenue and pay for those services. Costs are increasing at a rate faster than the city's revenues. For example, the Orange County Fire Authority contract could increase up to 4.5% annually, while property tax revenue is not expected to exceed 4% annually. To make things even more challenging, the local sales tax is set to decrease from 1.5% to 1% in 2029, which will result in the city losing more than $30 million in annual recurring revenue. City leadership has already started planning for this change. Here's an example of how we're addressing some of these challenges. We're making annual contribution to the Pension Stabilization Trust Fund. These deposits made now will be used in future years to help pay debt service, freeing up general fund money to provide essential city services and smooth out annual payment fluctuations. As we begin the fiscal year 25-26 budget process, we're working with limited resources. Not everyone's wish list will be fulfilled, and the City Council will be faced with making tough decisions. We encourage everyone to prioritize spending because that's one of the ways to clearly communicate what's important to the community and in what order. Help us make these difficult decisions. This is part of the presentation where we listen and collect feedback on your top priorities. Our staff will compile the feedback received and present our findings to the City Council in May. So we would like to hear what your top priorities are.
Is there anyone who would like to speak first?
Hey, what we're doing in this is each of you can, give your voice on, so you go down the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, and, give, what are your top priorities to our budget office here?
My top priorities would be to give money to the youth and teen services. That's just me personally.
Is there any specific programs that we don't offer here that you would like?
I think maybe more opportunities to have volunteering and like to have more inclusive activities for people who may have troubles with other certain fields with movements, people who have sensory issues, like more events inclusive towards them.
Okay, noted.
I can go next. One of my top priorities, I would say, would be a continued investment in the Santa Ana Youth Internship Program. I've heard really great things about it, and I think it's a great way to keep our youth in the city and to expose them to further opportunities here in the city that are within their local community. So I think that's something that's really important for me personally, being able to see that we can keep our youth here in Santa Ana and be able to offer them, some sort of pay, but also exposure to real world career opportunities. Also with that, also I would say continued investment in the Santa Ana Zoo. I think the Santa Ana Zoo brings in a unique aspect and brings in a lot of interest to the city that many other cities don't have the opportunity to have. And so continued investment in this place would really bring further interest in our city and further revenue. So I think it's just really important to keep that going.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go next. So, I think obviously since we're youth commission, we are focused on youth and teen programs, which I think is great, but also adding on to what Adrian said about the zoo, I also feel that that's important because not only does it contribute to teens and youth like getting to expand their learning, but then also as well as other age groups as well, which in the long run I feel is more beneficial instead of just targeting it towards youth. Kind of just my perspective based on the previous meeting we had at the zoo, March 8th, I think it was it? Mm-hmm. So yeah. And then for the youth and teens program, I do recall that at our previous meeting, I had brought up the fact that maybe we could like, I'm not sure if this would be like more of a budget based situation, but like maybe perhaps like creating like a website where it's more accessible for like teens and like youth to like see what opportunities that the city is hosting through a way that it makes sense to them, because I know that for many people they're always asking like across different schools like, oh hey, is there an opportunity for this or this? And that there is like there's plentiful both on like the SAUSD side and also like on the city council and city side, but it's just a matter of making those opportunities like available and known of. So yeah.
Thank you.
I'd say that my top priorities would correlate with some of the top priorities here, where investment in homelessness reduction program or crime prevention program in youth, because that's some of the issues that I see most rampant in our city, but also investing funds in um making better our community centers and programs for citizens in our community. And also, as Emily and Adrian have said, appropriate our budget towards programs for youth for their career exposure and programs to help youth get exposed to their career path.
And we do have some of the comments you share. We do have some of those programs here, grants, as well as we have the do the work center, as well as I'm sure library and parks do have the Santa Ana youth internship programs as well. Thank you. Is there any other comments before I continue? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I had a question. Is the budget for the library going to be adjusted at all this year? Just because I know that the main branch was closed, so that might not necessitate the need for certain programs and funding anymore. So I'm not sure if the budget was going to remain the same for the library, and if it wasn't, like how would that money be used instead? Yeah.
So you're talking about this year's budget
Well,
or next?
just any year that might have affected the library closure might have affected. I'm not sure if it's this year or last year.
Oh, no, it won't be impacted. Yeah, they're fully funded. And then anything that like because Maine is closed for renovations, they're doing more programming at their other locations.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we continue? We'll have an opportunity at the end for questions as well if you want to hold it till then. All right. So we compiled a list of QR codes that link to resources for youth and teens, including current program offerings and services from the library and Parks and Recreation, as well as a Cultura magazine to help you stay informed about the latest events and community programs in Santa Ana. Here is our contact information. The budget survey is now live and will remain open through the end of April. It's available in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. This concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anna, for that presentation. Next, we have the public comment section. This is a time for the commission to receive comments from the public. We will not accept any additional requests for speaker cards once we begin the public comment session. If you have not already, please submit your request to the recording secretary. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. For speakers on Zoom, you must dial 9 from your phone or click the button labeled "Raise Your Hand Now" to be in the speaker queue once public comments commence. Recording secretary, do we have any public comments in person?
Yes, we do. I'd like to invite Sophia May.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sophia May, and I live in Ward 3 here in Santa Ana. I'm also a high school student here in Santa Ana, and I'm the Assist Teens Philanthropic Chair. I'm honored to be here today to share the impact of the Assist Teens Book Fest and invite more 7th through 12th graders to be part of our efforts in bringing the community together through literacy, leadership, and service. For those who may not be familiar, Assist Teens is a youth volunteer program with the Assistance League, offering middle and high school students opportunities to serve and make a positive difference in the community. Recently, we hosted a Kids Book Fest. At the Assistance League Chapter House located here on First Street in Santa Ana. And we were able to engage with families and provide resources that support education and literacy. At this event, 60 middle and high school students volunteered and came together to serve over 60 families, impacting 116 children and 84 adults. With their help, we distributed 580 books, giving children access to stories that will inspire learning and creativity. But this is just the beginning. We believe that small actions like reading a book with a child or introducing them to new stories can spark a lifelong love of reading. That's why we're looking for more youth volunteers to join us and help expanding our impact. If you're passionate about leadership, literacy, and making a difference in your community, we would love for you to get involved. A big thank you to the Assistance League, Assist Teens, and all volunteers who made this event possible. For more information, or if you would know any students who would like to join, please visit the Santa Ana Assistance League website. Together, we can continue to empower families and help children discover the joy of reading. Thank you.
Do we have any more public comments in person?
At this time, there are none.
Do we have any public speakers on Zoom?
At this time, there are none.
Thank you. Next on is the consent calendar. Items 1 through 3. Commission members, are there any items you wish to pull from the consent calendar? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I motion to approve consent calendar.
I second that motion.
Madam Secretary, will you please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, motion by Youth Commissioner Benitez, or seconded by Youth Commissioner Ramirez to approve items 1 through 3 of the consent calendar. Youth Commission Member Pham.
I approve.
Youth Commission Member Paradies.
I approve.
Youth Commission Member Ramirez.
I approve.
Vice Chair Benitez.
I approve.
And Chair Malfavon.
I approve.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 nays. That motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now we will move on to the informational items section of the agenda. I will turn it over to Executive Director Hawk Scott to present the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services budget.
Thank you, Commissioner. At the request of the Youth Council last meeting, they asked if I can give a brief overview of our Parks and Recreation organization and budget, and that's what I'm going to present to you. All right, so first off, again, we have our organizational chart, which as you guys can see here is executive director. I do have an executive secretary, and from there we are divided into 3 separate sections, administration, Santa Ana Zoo, and our recreation and community services. In that, I do have a manager and 2 of my deputy directors, one which is here with us today, Deputy Director Pagano, and you guys all know Deputy Director Fisher, who is our, his acting title is our zoo director. All right, currently, next slide, please, sorry. Currently, our FY 2024-25 budget approved was, as you guys saw in our budget presentation earlier, 16 million and some change, with about 1.2 going to administration, about 4.5 to our zoo, about 8.8 to our rec and community services, and about 1.6 toward capital improvement. In this, we do have some funding carry forward from previous years from FY 23-24, which is about 12.4 million. About 700 of that is administration, which is some renovation, and of course our citywide credit card system. 1.8 is for the zoo, which is our, as you guys were out there this past week, our otter habitat, our zoo education hub, the wall, and our ticketing system. About 250s at our recreation community service towards our vehicles. And then last but not least, towards our parks, the majority of it for our Memorial Aquatic Facility and our stadium. Next slide, please. Just recently, we just had our 24-25 mid-year adjustment. Our projected revenue increased by approximately 350,000. And we did have some adjusted staffing. We are changing one of our recreation specialists to a recreation program coordinator, our zoo creator of health to a zoo veterinarian, and we are going to be getting some part-time veterinary technicians. We also have we worked on reducing our contracted veterinary services to have our very own veterinarian on site. Next slide, please. The 24-25 Cannabis Fund in PRCSA. So it was a 3.4 that was approved during the FY 24-25 budget process, but it was reduced by 266,000 during our mid-year update, which just happened. Programs do include a Zooth and You program, our Zoo Eco Center, our aquatics program and family maintenance, our teen excursion program, our Recreato program, special events and youth services, and our internship program through the Santa Ana Work Center. PRCA intends to continue these programs and services through the FY 25-26. Next slide. So on to our current 25-26 budget plan. We're looking for additional programming, and reservation activity is causing a need for additional funding for staffing. Due to limited funding, city-sponsored events have been adjusted and continue to be evaluated. PRCSA has needs for capital improvements at the zoo, as well as capital assets in the recreation and community services. PRCSA is aware of potential future impacts related to the overall financial position of the city and will evaluate operations to see where revenue can be generated and expenditures could be controlled. To date, budget has been reduced by 384,340 for FY 25-26. Next, go. And last but not least, our goals. We want to continue to create opportunities to learn, live, and explore in Santa Ana every day, which is through our senior services, youth services, athletic programs, and our health and wellness programs. We also want to continue to empower the community to save wildlife and wild spaces through fun, adventure, and learning, which would be done through educational programming at the Santa Ana Zoo, programming at the newly renovated Eco Center at Santiago Park, and of course, construction of our new education building. And that is the brief, that's what we are, guys. You know, your Parks and Recreation program. So at this time, are there any questions? I do have our Parks Planning team here to answer any questions, as well as our Parks and Recreation Deputy Director. And of course, I know what's going on with the zoo as well, too, if you guys have any questions there.
I have a question. So recently I've got accepted into Dragon King Foundation, which is a foundation where I get $5 grand, where I can build my own nonprofit program for the community. And so now that you mentioned this, I was wondering if we could create some type of partnership with the Parks and Recreation, with the organization that I plan, which is a volleyball camp, which it would go under the athletics. and we're going to target fourth and fifth graders and to produce more awareness of type 2 diabetes and healthy nutrition habits.
So on that, anything's possible. So again, I guess after the meeting, you can give us a contact, then we can reach out and see what type of opportunities and partnerships we create to maybe form an agreement. So absolutely.
Thank you.
With the zoo, is it all right if we can get some more information about that? Because I know it was explained to us at the zoo joint meeting we had,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna be honest with you, I have a bad memory.
Well, I mean, I can give you a brief overview of what we have going on right now. So as you guys went through the zoo, you know, our River Otter project is in its final steps to being completed, the exhibit itself, as well as the primate forest, which is a part of it. We are currently acquiring the river otters to come be a part of that, as well as you guys, if you guys remember when we saw the baby spider monkeys, we also are going to be getting some more baby spider monkeys to try to, you know, bring us a nice habitat with that of, you know, babies, you know, have up to seven, we'll have 7. So that'll be a great thing. Also part of that, we have 2 additional primate enclosures that are being built there as well too. And as if you guys remember, if you look down what people used to call Monkey Row, we are changing that and, you know, adjusting a little bit to where there are new exhibits as well as, you know, more updated facilities for our animals. If you guys do remember on that thing, you remember the 5 cages that we pointed out. Those are the last 5 standing from the original zoo back in 1952, and those are actually the original 5. So, you know, with times like that, one of our goals is to, you know, update all of those as well. We do have the in the front. If we were at the front of the zoo, the sidewalks, you know, that are currently dirt or caliche, those are currently in process to be getting changed over to concrete. Reason we want to do that, we want to keep our zoo open, you know, not 24/7. We want to keep them open, you know, all days of the year except for the 2 we are closed. You know, so unfortunately, when it does rain here, it gets too muddy and safety does become a concern, and we want to be able to share our zoo at all times. Also, the north wall out there is being replaced. Currently out there, there are old telephone poles. So those are going to be replaced with a modern zoo wall, which is also soundproof too. So that is also in the process. And last but not least, on the project side, our Zoo High building is in its final stages of planning and development before it goes out, so we can get some real cost numbers to build the education side of that. Also, other than that, we are working with our friends of the Santa Ana Zoo, FLOZAS, to start a bigger campaign to look for donations and sponsorships for our zoo because they are a nonprofit out at the zoo. So we've got a lot of things coming up there, you know, on that. And then, you know, programming wise, you know, we do have our 2 fundraisers coming up, our Brew at the Zoo, which will be in May. And then in August, we will have our Zoofari. So a lot of things happening at the zoo. Also, our ticketing system we're getting a brand new ticketing system, and we're going to make some repairs to the front ticketing system and booth. So a lot of great things happening at the zoo, and you guys were there and saw it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director Scott. Next, I will invite George Alicero and Susie Fergens to present the Parks and Facility Staff Report.
Good evening, Youth Commissioners, Youth Commissioner Chair. My name is Jorge Acevedo, Park Service Superintendent under the Public Works Agency. And today I'll be we're giving you guys a little snapshot or peek inside of our operation and what we've done in the last 2 years. Because Parks makes life better. That's our motto, the California state motto. So one of the focus or our goal is to keep our parks safe, clean, and green. So on the screen, it's a corner of Flower and Sunflower Street. It's a portion of our bike trails, which is comprised about 12.8 miles throughout the city. I know my counterpart, Susie, is working on a master plan to kind of close the loop. But here on the screen, you'll see my in-house electricians upgrade all the lights. So you see the date palms in the background. Those were trimmed. And then the team went in and just upgraded all the lighting to LED, just in a way to create, outside of an aesthetically appeasing entrance to the bike trail, a way to just activate that trail. So, you know, one way to keep it safe is make great activation and keep people kind of biking, walking, running, whatever the case may be, keeping them safe. So in the picture here, I'm not sure if I've reported it last time, as of January 1st, the Public Works Maintenance Team took over the maintenance of Grisette Park. So we've been out there doing many improvements to the park and that open space. Here in the picture, you see our in-house general maintenance team pouring 3 concrete slabs to accommodate some picnic tables, picnic benches, and then some trash receptacles. So, now, and when you go out there and visit Grisette Park, you'll be able to see the new improvements to the park. So currently you don't see the turf renovation, but it's been about 2.5 months, going on 3. So once you guys drive by, you guys can see the major improvements at Grisette Park. So here's some more pictures from Grisette Park, and as you can see, kind of the turf is starting to take from the guys aerating, overseeding, and fertilizing the turf. So it looks even better now. So feel free to go ahead and enjoy that space once we open up. So on the picture is just another example of how we support our recreation team. They assisted with the mosaic mural installation, Americans Connect, and I think maybe my counterpart Tim will talk about it in detail later on, and with the motto Heart and Home. So here at Jerome Park, everybody's encouraged to now enjoy the new mosaic mural installed by our general maintenance team. So additional improvements outside of Musco lighting that we do at our parks for our sports fields, our general maintenance team has been been busy at work upgrading our parking lot lights. Jerome, Windsor's, which is on the picture, is now received new LED lighting, energy efficient LED lighting, just provides better quality of light, makes the parking lot bright, making people feel safe or welcome to participate and just be in the park. So shout out to the general maintenance team. Another great project, as you can see here, our general maintenance team took the lead on demoing all of the stadium seats. Just let me clarify, not all, the ones on the west side of the stadium. In order to make this project whole and come under budget, they took the lead on the demo. And then we had a new installation of new seats on the west side. So if you guys enjoy, as you can see there in the picture, a new array of seats on the west side of the stadium. Another thing that has kept us busy is all the preparation work that goes behind the scenes to make opening day a success. Everything from upkeep of the infield, the turf, backstops, making sure all the lights work, the netting, just constant communication with our Little League. So we're happy to report that it was a successful month throughout the city of Santa Ana and all the Little League's opening days. With that concludes my presentation. Has anybody got any questions for me? I'll pass that on to my counterpart, Susie.
Guys, real quick, I know you guys, want to get out to the park, stuff like that, but I do want to iterate on what the parks maintenance team does in-house. That does save us a lot of money to where upgrading the lights, and you see the renovations of the fields we do. And Grisette Park, is something we took on, and we've added some, benches and trash cans, like George says, and it's all done in-house. And we want you guys to see that so y'all can advocate for us. And you go to some of the parks right now that, we have some transition of fields that are going to be that we're used, where they take over and the jobs they do. And we want you guys to see that, so big shout out to what George and his team does to help us out. And, what Susie's about to present is just going to knock you guys off your seats because it's amazing what we're doing together.
And this last slide, just kind of thank you, Hog, for that. Appreciate that. But it's just a good overview of some of the service contracts that we have or that are housed under our shop. You'll see everything from the artificial turf maintenance. That includes the Santa Ana Stadium, Dan Young Soccer Complex, to come the Santa Anita new artificial field, and the one at Cesar Chavez Park, the mini pitch. The lake management to maintain the water quality at Centennial and Thornton. Our pool maintenance, supporting our aquatics team. Tree maintenance, keeping our trees, safe from pests, keeping them upkept, trimmed, prevent them from falling over when the Santa Ana winds comes through. Our security guards, it's a slew of services that are housed under my shop. So, this is, I guess, another, some bullet points of some of the services that are provided on the Park Services team.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Susie Furjanic. I oversee the Park Planning Division of Park Services, and I'm going to give you a little overview. Since I wasn't here in January, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to kind of give you an overview of what we do, and then I'll go into some of the projects that we do. So Park Services is park planning and park maintenance, which George just gave you some information about. We used to be in the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Agency, but in 2022, we transitioned over to the Public Works Agency. And I like to think of it as a good thing because now we have two big agencies in the city, all with the park system, working for the park system. So together, George's team and my team work to do projects and improvements throughout the park system. And this image shows between our two divisions, Park Services is currently doing something at every single one of those red dots. It could be a large capital project. It could be, smaller renovations. That we're touching. Last year, we touched nearly every single park that we have. So here's our park planning team. We are made up of 2 assistant park planners, 2 assistant engineers, an engineering intern, contracts administrator, and a management aide. So we call ourselves the PLAY team, which stands for Planning, Architecture, and Engineering. And what we do. So from planning, we look at it in kind of 2 umbrellas. One is called current, one is advanced. Current is what we refer to, or things that we're doing now, and advanced is longer term. Current planning would be like project design, developing plans and specifications, plan checking, doing review and oversight. We do community outreach. We coordinate with other agencies and divisions. We provide construction oversight. We do graphics management, and we develop park standards. Advanced planning is, like I said, more longer term. And what that involves are things like implementing the parks master plan, looking at potential acquisition, land acquisition opportunities. CIP, which is Capital Improvements Program. We do CIP coordination. We do park master planning and concept studies. So there are, like, for example, Memorial Park, where you will see in a little bit, it's a it's a 15-acre park. And when we decided to take down the current aquatic center and rebuild the pools, instead of just focused on that, we wanted to zoom out, and we looked at the whole east acre part of the park, and we thought, okay, should we put it back exactly the way that it was, or do we want to turn it? What all do we have surrounding it? So it's a zoomed out look of how things kind of relate to one another and go together. We do environmental studies. We do general plan coordination with the Planning and Building Agency. Planning and Building Agency also has a committee called DRC, Design Review Committee. They meet every Thursday. It's made up of representatives from all the agencies in the city. We take our projects before them for review and comment, so we can get everyone's perspectives. We do grant solicitation, applications and management. We work with the Trust for Public Lands, who has a list of the 100 densest cities in the US. We are one of them. And every year, they reach out to us and survey us to see if it's a metric. It's like a measure of how well we're doing compared to the other cities. We also do the cell tower agreement management. So here's a photo of a few different some community outreach that we've done. One image is a outreach session that we did with the Willard neighborhood when we were planning the 10th and Flower Park. In the lower right is a outreach session that we did with McFadden Intermediate School when we were planning the new aquatics facility at Memorial Park. And in the lower right is an outreach meeting that we did with the Logan Park Neighborhood Association for the Logan Park Reimagining Project. So current planning, here is a listing of what we have, what we call on the boards in design, capital improvement projects, and a listing of everything that we have under construction. So in design, we have a project out at Santiago Park to renovate a habitat and trail, the Logan Park and Center Reimagining, which is essentially a master plan. You know, it's that zoomed out look of the entire Logan Park. We want to rebuild the building, and we want to rebuild all of the elements within it. Walnut Street, urban greening, downtown, we're looking for creative ways to add open space to the city since we are built out. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by potential street closures. So on Walnut Street, between Main and an alley, we're going to close off a section of the street and green it and make it a place for events and hanging out. Cypress Center is an old fire station in the city that we'll be restoring, or we're developing plans to restore it. Thornton Lake, we're putting together plans to renovate. We're putting plans together for our first splash pad at Portola Park. We have plans on the board to take down Corbin Center and rebuild it. We also have plans on the boards to take down the restroom at Edna Park and bring in a new prefabricated facility. Some of the projects that we have under construction right now, Centennial Lake renovation, Santa Anita Park and Center, brand new. That park has been completely redone. Gerardo Moet Park, we just completed that late last year. Santiago Park, what we call Phase 2, is the section between Main Street at the Discovery Science Museum inland to the log cabin. That whole area is being redeveloped to be a passive area with walkways and picnic areas, and we're going to repopulate a lot of the trees that had been lost during the drought. There's a new park at 10th and Flower Street, the first phase of which is under construction right now. We hope to have the second phase starting by late summer. We actually just completed 4 new prefabricated restrooms at Angels Heritage Riverview and Windsor Park. We're currently renovating El Salvador restroom. The new amazing, biggest project that we've ever done, Memorial Aquatic Center, currently underway. It's a $30 million project. We've never, since I've been here, which has been a long time, never done a project that big. It's super exciting. And then we will begin construction of a dog park at an undeveloped area of Centennial Park in about a month. So here's just a few images to go along with all the blah, blah, blah that I just did. This is a site plan view of the trail and habitat restoration at Santiago Park that we're planning. Design is completely funded. We're currently looking for construction funding through grants. The Chepas Park Logan Center reimagining. This is, Logan Park where we did our zoom out. And we are our goal is to wipe the slate clean and start over. This park, I'm gonna take a minute about this park. It's really special and very beloved to the Logan Park community that lives there. This park was built in 1970 from remnant parcels that resulted from a street realignment. And the community really, really wanted a park and they were advocating for it. So the city donated these remnants for a city park, and there were, design charrettes with the community where everybody came together to talk about what they wanted. But at the end of the day, there was no funding. So with donated labor and the parks maintenance team and the neighborhood association making food for everybody that was working, it was a grassroots effort to build the park that's currently there now. The community center is an old garage, detached garage. So it's in serious need of reimagining, and that's what we're going to set out to do. Here's a photo of what the building's going to look like. Gerardo Moet Park. This is a new park that we added to the system, and we just completed it a few months ago and had a grand opening. Santa Anita Center, this is currently underway, and we're hoping to have this completed with the park reopening late spring, early summer. Memorial Aquatics Vicinity, this is the big, beautiful project of a lifetime currently underway at Memorial Aquatic Center. The original building and pool had been there since the 1950s. So instead of building, we changed the positioning of it a little bit, putting the building at the parking lot. It's going to be easier for drop off, and then the pools will be on the interior of the park, protected and surrounded by the buildings and groves of trees. We're doing 2 pools instead of 1. We did have a 50-meter pool, but what we're going to have now is a smaller competitive pool, a 25-yard by 25-meter pool that could be used for lap swimming, training, water polo, those sorts of, that type of swimming. We also have a recreational pool that also has lanes that can be used for therapeutic programming. It has a zero beach entry, meaning you can just kind of walk in like you were on a beach. It's going to have spray elements like a splash pad. It's going to have a slide. It's going to be super cool. It is going to be super cool. It'll be open 2026, probably in the fall. Santiago Park Phase 2, this is currently under construction right now between Main Street and the Log Cabin. This is the dog park that will be starting construction in about a month. This is a new park at 10th and Flower Street that the first phase, which is the closure of 10th Street and the construction of that cul-de-sac, that's underway right now. And that is slated to be completed probably in May. And then right behind that, we're hoping to come in with construction of the park. We acquired 8 parcels for this park. We picked up additional square footage from what we closed on 10th Street. And then there was also Garnsey Avenue ran north-south through the park, and we bought 2 residential properties whose garages were accessed from that road. that avenue. So when the properties went away, the road could go away too. So we're ending up with a park that's a little over like 1.1 acre. This is another future park site at first. Oh, Hiram, can I get you to go advance 3 or 4 slides? Back? Yep, okay. Advanced planning, real quick. Again, this is longer range planning. This is concept designing. This is master planning. This is looking for grants and revenues, one of which is our cell tower program. We have cell towers at 19 of our parks, and we collect revenues on them, all total about 600,000 a year. So this is for deferred maintenance. This is for addressing deferred maintenance. So I manage the license agreements, and I'm working with a consultant to hopefully bring in more cell tower companies. And George and his team identify the needs and how the money is spent. Okay, if I can get you to go back to First and Mountain View. So this is in the advanced planning category because it's going to be kind of far off. We acquired property in the kind of upper left quarter, about an acre. It totals about an acre, but right there at the corner of First and New Hope, we recently acquired some property, and we're going through a concept planning phase. We're having community outreach, meeting with the community, getting ideas, and we're working with a consultant that's going to take all those ideas and put them in a visual form. And then there's going to be, to the right, you'll see a lot of their food trucks. That actually was recently purchased by a developer who is going to build about 50 townhomes. So it's going to be a really nice nexus of having this park next to those townhomes, because those townhomes don't have a whole lot of open space. Grisette Park, George spoke to this earlier. This is city-owned property that for years and years, we had a joint use agreement with the school district where they maintained and programmed it, and that has recently changed. We are now going to maintain it and open it so that it can be a city park during normal city park hours every day. What my team is working on is a long-term plan for this site. It's a 6.5 acre piece of land. That is a community park sized piece of property, and there is a lot of area to do a lot of things. So we are kicking off community meetings right now. We just got started. We're working with a consultant, a landscape architect. We're going to keep having these meetings and draw input from the community, from the school district, and then our architect will give it visual form. And by the end of the year, we would like to have an approved concept so that we can go after grant funding. Warner Delhi Linear Park. This is another looking for creative ways to add open space. Warner Avenue is currently being widened as part of a street widening. Public Works Agency has to buy property. Those properties always leave remnant parcels behind. So what we want to do is come in and make use of those parcels. So we again, worked with a consultant, did a lot of community outreach. We got some ideas. This is going to be an extension of Delhi Park. We're going to, it'll have a linear walking trail, and in those little pockets, there'll be a playground, and we're proposing a pump track in the one pocket that's right next to the bike trail. Yep, that's it. That was a lot. And I can take any questions. or not? Thank
Uh,
you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. It's not really a question, but more like just a comment. I noticed that for one of your guys' community outreach, it was at Willard.
Mhm.
I don't know, I found that really cool just because that was the middle school I attended. So yeah. And then also for the Chepas Park, I feel like that's a really great thing that you guys are doing as well. I believe Chepas Park has like some history to it, right? Like what it was named after
It
and stuff.
absolutely does, yeah.
Yes, so I read over that and it's because of a friend who had like mentioned to me that park and I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. So I also think that's really good as well. Yeah.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yes.
I had a question. I was just wondering on is there like a prospective date on when the El Salvador restrooms would be renovated? Just because I've heard a lot of like comments asking for like its renovation. Just
If I had a photographic memory, I would be able to tell you that right now. I can get that, we can get that definitive information to you, I want to say, probably in a couple of months.
thank you.
Um, I have a question, and I guess this is also a question for Hawk too. So with all these renovations and plans and improvements in parks and recs, I wanted to go back to the city budget presentation where it was noted that there was a deficit in city revenue, the generation of city revenue, and then to the parks budget presentation, how there was limited funding and that these issues were being addressed with wait, hold on. City sponsor events, how they were being evaluated to address the issue in funding. So I was wondering, would this lead to a decrease in the frequency of city sponsored events, or that the annual city events would be smaller in scale?
Well,
Yeah, so
is it events or capital projects that you're, or both that you're wanting to?
Because in the parks budget presentation, it was said
Why
that
don't you speak to the events and I could talk a little bit about the capital stuff. Got it.
So on capital stuff, a lot of these projects that Susan and her team working on are ARPA funded, and, you know, so that a lot of that funding is being used because it has to be allocated by the end of this year and completed, you know, 2 years after that. So that's where her team is coming in. A lot of these projects too were filled in with gaps through either cell phone tower monies or cannabis funding, stuff like that. So that's where we're on that. When it comes to the event side of it, you know, we evaluate the event to see if we need to downsize or if we have to unfortunately, you know, cut some of the events. So that's where we're at on that one.
Yeah, if I could just add, it's a big component of what my division does, going after grants. A lot of our projects rely very much on the grants that we bring in, state and federal. The federal HUD Community Development Block Grant funding has been something that we look to every year and have relied upon. There's a number of grants through the state Parks and Rec. It's called OGALS, the Office of Grants and Local Services. They have a number of programs and they cycle around every year. And we make sure that we always apply. And we have consultants that are always throwing us grant opportunities. So we're very proactive in looking for additional, or looking for funds through grant programs. And then along with that, we have something called acquisition and development funds. And what those are residential development fees. They're fees that are charged to developers that build projects that are 50 units or more. And it's based, well, it has been based on number of bedrooms. There's a formula that they use and determine. So when the developer pulls permits, they have to pay, you know, a number of fees, one of which is to the Parks A&D Fund. And that money is primarily, per our municipal code, it's primarily supposed to be used first for acquisition and development of new recreation opportunities because, philosophically, we're supposed to be keeping pace and providing opportunities for the additional people that are going to be coming to the city and living here. But those, funds, they go quickly and it's not like an enterprise fund. You heard during the budget presentation about an enterprise fund, which has a constant source of revenue, replenishing it. That's something that we need. And we're talking about how we can do that. But the A&D is a one-time fund. And yes, it does, it's very helpful. And it does, help us to achieve things. But it is a one-time fund. Once we get it, we spend it, and then we look for the next developer to come along. Oh, okay. Good to see you all. Good night.
Thank you, George and Susie, for that presentation. Finally, I will invite Tim Pagano to present the Parks, Recreation, and Community Service Staff Report.
Good evening, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'd like to acknowledge Susie and George. Their presentations, even though a lot of information is coming out of there, it's really exciting stuff, especially for somebody that's in my position that's going to be talking to you about activities, programs, events that our Recreation Community Services division does, because without them and without the maintenance that they do to take care of our park spaces, our open spaces, the future planning and everything, the Recreation Community Services Agency doesn't get the opportunity to expand our programming and the activities that we provide the community. So I want to thank them both for that presentation and also for your guys' questions. Keep those coming, because again, if there's something that you want us to explain, because we're throwing out a lot of acronyms at you all, feel free to ask, a follow-up question and everything. We're here for your guys' time and all that type of stuff. So if there's anything you ever want us to expand on and stuff, feel free to stop us and, just prod us a little bit more and ask us to explain, maybe in a little bit of a different way, because there is a lot of information that is coming at you all during our presentation. So with that, I'll get started. Hiram, if we can go to the next one. I'm going to provide you with some highlights of your Recreation and Community Services Agency over the last month. So the Recreation Community Services Division is made up of 7 sections, spanning from athletics all the way to youth and teens and a lot in between. So over the course of February, March, your athletics section, the boys youth basketball program completed its season with 46 teams, 140 junior NBA skill challenge participants. So beyond wrapping up our program, there's also a challenge, skill challenge that takes place at Godinez High School. And so about 140 of our kiddos were able to participate in that. And it's sponsored by the Clippers. So our athletics section actually we have a partnership with the LA Clippers. And so all of their gear, their jerseys and their shorts and everything was actually donated by the Clippers this year. And in addition to that, I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's also going to be a teen family Clippers night. So they're going to have a Santa Ana Clippers night later on, I think next month, or maybe even this month, to where teens within the community and their families can actually go to a Clipper game. And they're going to get a bunch of buses and we're going to haul everybody out there. So be a fun experience. If you haven't been to the Intuit Dome, very fun experience. So I would recommend that if you guys are interested in checking out a game, the Clippers, I would encourage you guys to sign up for that, and anybody else that's watching to sign up. Our girls youth basketball program is about to start, is underway. We have 190 plus participants at this point, and we have new volunteer coaches clinics that are going to be taking place. Our Santa Ana track meet, I think we just went live today with our social media push. That's going to be taking place April 13th at Santa Ana College. Registration is open on April 8th, and the top 3 athletes in each event that we put forward will then advance to the regional track meet, which is all the cities that are in Southern California. So kids from Santa Ana will compete against kids from Lakewood in the 800, 400, all those track and field events. So that's a really exciting experience that we like to provide our youth here within the city of Santa Ana. Also, our adult kickball league, which is starting its third season, is registering right now, growing participation amongst teams. It's really exciting. The teams really get into it. Something to look forward to when you guys get a little bit older and all that good stuff. And here are some of our recent posts with regards to our adult kickball, co-ed kickball over at Thornton Park, and then also our girls basketball program that, like I said, is set to start relatively soon. Thank you, Hiram. Our aquatics section. So aquatics for most of you, in the last 3 years, that's when we brought our aquatics programs back in-house. So previously, we actually had a contract that we worked with a third-party vendor to provide swim lessons at our community pools. In 2022, we started to bring those services back in-house. And to date, we've given the community just under 7,000 swim lessons in the 2 years that we've been operating. And we're really excited about this year for our third season, mostly because we have the Santa Anita pool, which is tied to the community center that you saw Susie talk about. That's going to be opening up probably around July. And we're really excited about that because that's where a location where we're going to dedicate therapeutic recreation swim and therapeutic learn to swim lessons. So kids with special needs, there will be an opportunity for them to have smaller class sizes where they can work on learn to swim lessons and probably some more tactile movements that is really good for their overall health and well-being. Our spring lap swim and aqua fitness relaunched at Jerome Pool just recently. In addition, we're starting to recruit for our Silver Splash memberships, which is free for seniors 50 plus. So we work really closely with our Southwest Senior Center to invite our senior participants to come over and do some aqua Zumba, aqua fusion classes in the morning. So they get in the pool and we got some music going on for them and it's really fun to see them participate. Like I said, lap swim is also going on during the morning hours over at Jerome Pool. Our lifeguard training program, our emerging leader lifeguard program, we have a handful of participants that have joined us. This is basically if you've never done swimming competitively or have gotten into a pool or even imagined you being a lifeguard, our aquatics team will actually take you into the water and teach you how to be a proficient swimmer enough to where you could potentially be a lifeguard. And for all of you, 15 and a half is the American Red Cross standard to where you could become a lifeguard. For us, it's 16 years old because we can't hire you until you hit 16. But there have been a handful of your peers that have come in not knowing a thing about swimming, not knowing a thing about lifeguarding, and they've actually become lifeguards in our program going back 2 years, and they've become some of our best lifeguards. So if you're interested in the healthcare field, it's the best way to get hands-on experience because you're learning hands-on CPR, advanced life-saving techniques and all that type of stuff. And you carry the same certificates that EMTs, police officers and firefighters actually carry as professionals at potentially 16 years old. So those classes are taking place right now. And if you have any interest, please have a conversation with me after the meeting. I can point you in the right direction. We had our on-site hiring event last Wednesday. And we had great success. We were looking for about 25 guards, and I think we ended up conditionally offering 19 positions. So that's a good start to our summer season, even though we're in the middle of March. We start summer now in terms of our recruitment efforts and all that. There will be potentially another opportunity in April, but this year we're really excited because we went through the reclassification exercise with HR last year, and we were able to add senior lifeguards and also pool managers for the first time this year. So we're actually building a career ladder within our aqua section so that if you're a lifeguard with us for at least 2 summers, you have some in-water, opportunities and everything, then you can become a senior guard. And the same thing is if you're a graduate of high school, then you can be a pool manager. So it's varying degrees of responsibilities that are built in throughout the aquatic section. Our community engagement section is the one that you guys probably interact with the most, even though you guys don't may not know it. They're responsible for our Cultura magazine, which I'm pretty sure Director Scott has probably handed out to each one of you numerous times. We've expanded our subscriptions. We have kind of pioneered the subscription model in recreation brochure opportunities. It's something that we're looked at by other agencies, is kind of figuring out how did you do that and how have you been successful. I think to date we are over 1,200 subscriptions, which seems small for a city that's 300,000, but you have to think that back not too long ago, we were actually mailing these out to all of our residents, and that came at quite a cost. So in order to be more efficient with us sending out our information, we've transitioned to a subscription model, and those numbers will grow over time, especially with the popularity of our programs and our activities and events. Social media, our growth has been 3% increase on our Instagram. And I think there's been a slight increase in our Facebook followers, but we all know where Facebook is going, so that makes sense. Major partnerships, I spoke about with the LA Clippers. We also have a partnership with the Anaheim Ducks and also the Orange County Soccer Club as well. I think there are, we just had a Santa Ana night at the Anaheim Ducks, one of their games recently, and there's going to be an upcoming OCSC Santa Ana night, I believe at the end of May, if my memory serves me correctly. So be on the lookout for that. That should be pretty fun. Contract classes, those are like guitar class. There are ballet folkloric offerings and everything. We have about 150 summer sessions that are going to be available for this upcoming summer. So we're looking forward to providing that to the community. Here are some pictures of our two of our members of the community engagement section giving a presentation over at OSHA based on community engagement and how to really enhance. I think they were talking about enhancing your brand, but we were talking from the perspective of PRCSA enhancing our brand within our relative space and all that type of stuff. So that was a good conversation that we have. And to the right, we have a picture of our most recent ribbon cutting ceremony, which our community engagement team spearheads. And that was at George Upton All Access Park. So we just did a ribbon cutting ceremony not too long ago, and that was one of the participants that joined us then. Our health and wellness section, our Recreado program, they've been basically going to underserved areas of the city that have parks that they may have park spaces, they may not have park spaces. So our Recreado program pairs up with Zoomy, our Zoomobile, and also our No-Mobile to go to park areas to where we can access the residents that are there that may not usually come out to the park spaces, and encourage them to play with us during our visits there. Our wilderness clubs, it has hikes, whale watching, and outdoor adventures. Community gardens, we've had over 424 participants in composting and gardening workshops that we've conducted. And then we also have 3 fitness classes, circuit training, badminton, and HIIT workouts that primarily take place out of Roosevelt Walker Community Center. Here's a picture of our Recreado program and the Zoomy over at Madison Park. And then we also have a flyer for our community garden march workshops that are currently taking place this month. Next, we have our senior services section. Our seniors center programs, we have about 15 plus classes that include Tai Chi, English workshops, and also fitness and arts programs. Our congregate lunch program served over 2,000 meals in February. So our congregate meal program is every afternoon we serve lunch on site at both the Southwest Senior Center and the Santa Ana Senior Center. And over 2,000 seniors joined us over the month of February to actually receive lunch as part of their membership to our centers. So that's a pretty healthy number. I think we're averaging close to 105 people per day at both sites. Our senior transportation program, just like the Recreado, but in a little bit of a different way, we have 3 senior transports, and 271 seniors are registered as being able to take trips on our senior transportation program, through our senior transportation program. And we take them shopping, on excursions, and also to other areas that are of interest to our senior population. We have tech and social nights. So Appy Hour is in partnership with the library, in which the library helps our senior population with anything tech. So how do I put in my new contact to my grandson's new phone? The library will assist them into our seniors into being able to do that on their new iPhone 16 Pros. Karaoke, movie nights, and we have monthly celebrations where our seniors get to have some food and get to dance as well, in addition to that. Here's just an example of one of our Valentine's celebration. I believe that's over, it looks like Santa Ana. That's Santa Ana. Santa Ana Senior Center, where all of our participants got dressed up to the nines and they had a nice little time there. And then that's our senior excursion where they went to SeaWorld. Is that your, that's your, oh, okay, gotcha. So I was just wondering what you were doing. So yes, our excursion was to SeaWorld. So everybody, that's our sign language for SeaWorld now. So anyway, moving on. Thank you, Hiram. Our special events section. So Commissioner Pham, you mentioned about our events. Our next event is scheduled for May 17th, which is our Santa Ana Fun Run. Registration went live today at 5 p.m. And it's a 70 themes event, and we'll be having a beer garden and vendors for that day. It features a 5K, 10K race, and also a kids fun run as well that will take place on the floor of Santa Ana Stadium. Major events that we're currently planning is our 4th of July, Movies in the Park, Chicano Heritage Festival, and our Fiestas Patrias event. Our special event section also assists in doing special event permitting. So this month in February, we did 10 special event permits process supporting community celebrations. And that can happen anywhere within the city, at our park spaces, downtown in Plaza Calle Cuatro. It just depends on what the organizers are looking for. There is a very early look at our Santa Ana Fun Run logo for this year, and also some images from our TET Festival that took place at the end of January. Our Youth and Teen Services section, our Teen Excursion Program, the most recent one, 43 teens attended Wicked. I think that was in January, and 38 teens attended our UCI basketball game. Our esports program is on the cusp of being started. We have 11 new gaming PCs that we're focusing on, not necessarily the gaming aspect of it, but the understanding that that's kind of the trend that's happening for young people, and also for those that are entering college. We've been interfacing with the E-teams from both UCI and also Cal State Fullerton, and have developed like a mentor-mentee relationship with both those teams, so that when we do get into the actual gaming of things, that we'll be interacting with those that are already kind of in that space. But we've also arranged for kind of like presentations from Tesla as a company to come and provide insight into potential careers in tech and STEAM pathways for our teens as well too, as we've developed this gaming program and this esports program. Our Youth Empowered Initiative is a volunteer opportunity. This last month, we hosted an intergenerational Valentine's Day dance. So the kids that were in the Youth Empowerment Initiative paired up with our seniors, and they had a senior prom. So they came over, and there was food and there was dancing, and everybody had a great time. It was a really, really nice event. And then finally, over at Garfield Community Center, we have our Mariposa Park pop-up. How many are familiar with Mariposa Park? It's a little pocket park. It actually has a skate bowl, right? A little skate park in there. Yeah, and so it's right adjacent to Garfield Community Center and Garfield Elementary. But we go out there because our space over at Garfield isn't always, it's indoors, it's behind fences and everything, so it's not as inviting. So we've taken it upon ourselves to go out to the community, meet them where they're at in the parks, and include some activities that they normally wouldn't participate in. And we've been getting a lot of great engagement from our youth out there, so we're really excited about that. That's a picture of our gaming consoles that I think some of them are installed, not all of them, but you're also looking at some of our materials for tech that we're doing coding and a lot of other fun things with our computer lab. And then we had our Kids Night Out program over at Salgado Community Center, and it was a Shake It Off theme. So kids had a good time channeling their inner Swiftie. So in terms of impact and community reach, thousands of participants engaged across all sections. We've strengthened partnerships with businesses and sports teams, and the future growth, expanding program sponsorship and accessibility through our park spaces, our buildings, and our programs and events. Two examples of that. I think George mentioned it earlier. On the left-hand side, you see our America Connects mosaic mural, which was installed over at Jerome Recreation Center last month. This was a project where we were one of 6 communities in the United States, or in North America, because there was a few in Canada, one of 6 communities that were selected during their winter tour to not only have our residents participate by painting a tile and contributing to this art piece, but we also were joined by multiple people, hundreds of people all across the nation that also submitted this tile so that we could create the much larger picture of the tree and the horses and the trail. So that was really exciting for us to be able to install over at Jerome Recreation Center. And finally, we have been working with UCI for the last 3 years for a couple of playful learning landscape installs, which basically take a space within our park area and make it interactive. And while it's interactive and fun, the kids are also learning something as well. So this is a picture of our Parkopolis install that was installed last month. And in addition, at Angels Park, we have a Loteria installation and a How Tall Am I installation. The Loteria one is really cool. There's about, I want to say it's 12 game boards that can be played at once, with a spinner in the center where you're selecting the cards just like you would during a normal game of Loteria. And pretty cool that, you know, families can go down there while their kids are playing, and they can be playing a game of Loteria as well too. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Alrighty, so I have 2 questions.
Sure.
My first question is for the athletics section. What is the age limit on that for like prospective participants?
As far as the youth girls basketball program, or just in general?
Just in general, yeah.
I think we usually go up to the 12 years old, but I want to say that we may push a little bit north of that, just because we're trying to catch those kids that are in that gap between going into middle school, junior high, before high school. So it depends on which division you're in, but you may be a little bit north of 12 years old as far as our oldest division.
All right, thank you. And
welcome.
then, oh, sorry.
No, you're okay.
For my next question, it's for the aquatics section.
Mhm.
So I noticed how you said that students like interested, let's say like in healthcare, like they can get like a CPR certificate
Mhm.
and such. I was wondering, what if like we're pushing it out there and advertising it, like it's advertised through a way where students can also take advantage of it, like in a career-wise way, like in the medicine field type of thing. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's typically how we present it.
Yeah.
Is, you know, if you have interest in being a nurse, being a doctor, whatever, you know, if you have a career path, it's a great way again to get introduced to it at a very early age. And again, the training that most of these young people, you know, again, let's say 15 and a half, 16, 17 years old, they're going through about 33 hours of training just for the CPR and advanced life-saving first aid. That doesn't even include Title 22, which covers a wide range of things. Oxygen delivery, you get taught how to deliver a baby, because that's part of the Title 22 certification and everything. So when our lifeguards hit the deck, they're very well trained because they went through probably 42 hours plus hours of training just to be able to stand on our deck and have the title of lifeguard.
And
But
then,
I agree with you. It's a great way to kind of be almost like a career pathway, but a platform into those fields.
And then for that, what is the age range that people can join for that?
We'll start at 16 because that's when we can hire. However, with our emerging lifeguard leader program, they can be a little bit younger. And like say, we actually have two, I think, recruits right now that aren't turning 16 until the middle of July. But we'll have them go through the training, and then once they turn 16 in July, that's when we'll look to offer them a position. There is also two opportunities this summer for the junior lifeguard program, and you could be well below 15 and a half to where you spend a week with our lifeguards and they teach you surface level, not really in-depth lifeguard techniques, but enough to where you can become a water watcher, right? And that's the next best thing to a lifeguard, to where if you've got young siblings or cousins and you're near a body of water and everything, it teaches you how to look at the signs of maybe they're struggling, because a lot of times when people are struggling swimming, you wouldn't be able to tell it just from the surface. It looks like they're just playing and splashing and everything. So it really goes through what to look for in those particular instances and stuff. So I believe we start maybe at 11 years old for the junior lifeguard camp, and it goes all the way up till 15, 16 years old if you want to kind of get your feet wet, figuratively speaking, in that pathway.
And then like going back to like the whole idea of like advertising, like do you guys like also like perhaps like advertise in schools or like yeah?
Yeah, part of our recruitment strategy, and again, going back 2 years ago when we were first starting out, it was difficult because one of the things that we discovered is that Santa Ana, we've titled it an aquatic desert, right? Because you got Irvine to the south of us, Mission Viejo a little bit further south. They have rich aquatics cultures, right? For us in our community, there's a generational gap in terms of water safety and drowning prevention knowledge. And that's one of the things what we love about doing so much with our aquatics program in Santa Ana is we're tearing down those cycles of, again, people being afraid of the water, people not even wanting to go waist deep in the water because they think that they're going to lose their footing, and all of a sudden they're not going to be able to get themselves back up and everything. So in addition to the young people taking learn to swim lessons, we also offer adult swimming lessons, which have been greatly popular as we continue to offer them over the course of the last 2 summers. Those opportunities will be there again too. So that's part of the reason why when we first did our recruiting, we've lost a lot of lifeguards, because you get into it and you go, whoa, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be a cool summer job where I was going to be able to work on my tan, hang out with my friends and all that type of stuff. But after you go through 40 hours of training and through our work with our lifeguards, we impress upon them. You are in a prevention of, or life, security, right? Because anybody that goes in our pool, the one standing rule that we have on our deck, at least in Santa Ana, everybody goes home. That includes our guards, that includes all of our patrons. So the responsibility, if you can imagine, of a 16-year-old having that go on when you're putting on your whistle and your uniform and everything, they take it very seriously. And again, if you looked at the stereotypical viewpoint of a lifeguard, a lot of people are like, you know what, they're just, burnouts and all that. No, they're the tip of the spear. They've committed to advanced training, and they take their job very seriously. So again, going from a workforce development standpoint, if you're looking to get into the medical field, which is very serious in its nature as it is anyway, this is a great place to start. So we've gone to job fairs at schools. We've worked with a lot of different swim teams, water polo teams. The swimmers are there, so we obviously try to go after those folks. But we've been at a lot of job fairs over the last 3 years.
Great, thank you.
Great questions.
I had a question about the Santa Ana track meet.
Sure.
What's the age range?
Again, you're looking at the same thing. You're probably looking at very, very young. I would probably say maybe 6 or 7. 7, yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 would probably be the divisions that you would be operating in. So just before getting into the high school area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a question about the all-inclusive park. What does that mean exactly?
So yeah, I mean, and Susie, if you want to, maybe jump in here and everything, but The Kiwanis Club of Santa Ana, they had a member, a very long-time standing member, whose vision was to provide access to everybody when it came to playgrounds. And inclusionary playgrounds have kind of been real popular as of late in the design of them. So what it means is that there are elements where people with ambulatory issues or special needs, maybe on the spectrum, they can come into this space and they can access certain elements of the playground that maybe under a normal playground design wouldn't necessarily be able to be accessed by them. And there was a lot of excitement from the community of Santa Ana and beyond, because these type of playgrounds don't really exist in the scale of where George Upton was. Because if you've been out there or if you visited, it's a great playground. It's a lot of open air, big space, but I don't know, did you want to add anything else? Okay.
Examples, the entire playground structure is available, all the elements are available they're all tied together by a series of ramps. So somebody in a wheelchair could potentially roll up onto every platform and access every feature that playground structure has to offer. The entire site is, I believe, is like less than 5% slope, so it's relatively flat. And then there, like on the basketball courts, there are if it's still like this, but they were adjustable, where you could adjust the height. So I know at one point in time there was talk of getting a basketball program where you could have people that are able-bodied playing alongside of people that were in wheelchairs. And then there are other elements out there to appeal to, like sense of smell, plant material that, rosemary, plants that have, a scent. So little design nuances, but the entire Tim summed it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Director Go. Executive Director Hawk, do you have any closing comments?
I did want to add on to George Upton, something also new out there, and I guess Tim wanted to give it to me, is it is now lighted out there. So the playground, that's why they're laughing back there. The playground is now lit, as well as the basketball court, and there's also security lights around that thing. So something that hasn't happened in that area of the park is now they can play basketball till 10 p.m. and that playground is also open till 10 p.m. So that's one of the cool things that we also did out there. Other than that, like Deputy Director Pagano said, our 10K, 5K is now open for registration. So if you guys can, help pass the word, our big old marketing push will start going. One of the biggest changes this year is we are charging for both 5K and 10K this year. However, for the next month, we do have early bird pricing and specials, so it'll be a lot cheaper to where if you register in a month or day of the event. It's going to be a great event. Also, we should have some of our Public Works friends out there, showcasing off some of their stuff. It's also a Public Works Week, so we're excited to have our friends out there. And also, not for you guys, sorry, but for your parents and your parents' friends, we'll have our Brew at the Zoo coming up May 10th. That is a great event. It has grown every year. It is also another fundraiser for us out there at the zoo. So you want to pass it on to your parents, pass it on to, people that are up 21 and older. It's a great event. And again, all proceeds go to the Santa Ana Zoo. And we're already getting a lot of great breweries out there, a lot of great restaurants. The biggest disappointment, which is going to, disappoint people, is Gus's Fried Chicken has a prior commitment, so they won't be out there this year. However, we do have some new ones coming in, so that's great. And like I said, last but not least, for those of you guys that did show up to the Santa Ana Zoo last week, I was so happy to see you guys out there and learn what we do out there. And for those of you that have been out there in the past to now, to see all the great changes that are happening out there. So thank you guys for going out there. And for those of you that did not go, be more than happy to arrange something for you guys can get the, experience that the other commissioners did. And again, thank you guys for all your support, and thank you to everyone here that for what they do. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Now, is there any youth commissioner comments? Youth Commission Member Pham.
Yeah, I have an inquiry for the Santa Ana Fun Run. Is there like any way we can independently sign up to volunteer? Like group volunteer? Yeah, because I'm on the website right now and there's not like,
Just again, just send an email out to me and I'll point you in the right direction. And again, I know Emily does that as well. Commissioner Baradias does that as well too. So, we'll find way you guys can want to help and volunteer with us.
Youth Commission Member Paradias.
Going back to the fun run, actually my co-president already reached out, so for volunteering. So yeah, but other than that, no comment. Just great, wonderful meeting.
Youth Commission Member Ramirez.
No.
Vice Chair Benitez.
I want to thank the first public speaker that we had. I actually know her. She's actually part of the Dragon King Foundation as well with me. But this was a good meeting. Thank you.
Wyatt, if I may, congratulations to Mercy Benitez on becoming part of that club. So, round of applause for that. That's awesome. So, kind of want to just throw it out there, and our Harvard stud over here.
I just want to say thank you for all the presentations. We got a lot of great information. And yeah, thank you to our very first public speaker to the Youth Commission. Today was a very good meeting. Alrighty then. The next Youth Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 21st at 6 p.m. at the New Hope Library. Before the commission, I hereby adjourn the meeting at 7:44 p.m.